For those of you who don't know, the Soviet Union, or the USSR, was a large and powerful state led by the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1922 to 1991. During that time, the Soviet Union national football team was also a considerable force, reaching the World Cup quarterfinals 4 times and the semi-finals once, as well as winning the European Championships once, losing in the final a further 3 times, and reaching the semi-finals once more. Since then, the Russia national team has been pretty useless, often failing to even qualify for major tournaments. Recently, we took a look at the rise and fall of the Hungarian national team and found the fall of communism to be a major factor in their demise as well. So comrades, I think it's pretty clear what needs to happen. Bring back communism and the USSR. Yeah, alright, maybe not. But today we wanted to take a look at what the Soviet national team might look like now if the USSR was still going and still covering such a large territory. Let us know if you enjoyed this kind of video and we could maybe look at fantasy Czechoslovakia or British Empire 11s, or any others, you get the idea. Before we start, the modern day countries that made up the Soviet Union are Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Estonia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Russia, Ukraine, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Yapstan. Okay, not really Yapstan, but the rest are all true, so those are the 15 nations that we can draw players from here. Here is our Soviet Union starting 11 if the state still existed. Goalkeeper: Igor Akinfeev. Russia have fine pedigree when it comes to goalkeepers, including the nation's greatest ever player, so it should come as no surprise that it is a Russian who takes the number 1 shirt in our Soviet 11. CSKA Moscow legend and one-club man Igor Akinfeev seems to have been around forever, but he's still only 32, now closing in on 600 appearances for Russia's second most successful club. Capped 111 times by Russia, Akinfeev is a really well-rounded goalkeeper, and he has been named as Russian Goalkeeper of the Year 6 times. Left back: Alexander Zinchenko. This spot would have gone to Yuri Zhirkov, seeing as though Alexander Zinchenko is supposed to be a right winger or attacking midfielder. But since Pep has been playing him at left back, and we're not spoiled for choice in this position, it is Zinchenko who takes this one. The youthful Ukrainian has made 12 appearances for Man City this season, and he looks really dangerous going forwards. As well as Zhirkov, one could make arguments for Spartak left back Dmitry Kombarov and CSKA left back Georgy Shchenikov, but we've edged towards Zinchenko, who is getting semi-regular game time for one of the best club sides in Europe. Centre back: Yaroslav Rakitsky. Clearly, Russia and Ukraine are the strongest footballing nations available for us to choose from here, so it should come as no surprise that they dominate our 11. Our first centre back brings us our second Ukrainian, and that man is recent Zenit signing Yaroslav Rakitsky. Brought to the Russian Premier League from his only previous club Shakhtar Donetsk, Rakitsky won 7 league titles in 10 seasons with Shakhtar. Fairly short for a centre-back at 5 feet and 11 inches, Rakitsky more than makes up for that with his strength and aggression. A free-kick specialist and probably the outstanding centre-back at our disposal, the 29-year-old has scored 5 goals from 54 caps for the Ukrainian national team. Centre-back: Ragnar Klavan. Making it a Russian free zone among our centre-backs, Ragnar Klavan is an Estonian international with 125 caps to his name. Estonia are not a particularly strong national team, currently ranked 96 by FIFA's world rankings, but Klavan is a player of some pedigree. Now playing for Cagliari in Serie A, Klavan may have looked a little out of his depth at Liverpool, but he was very solid before that in both the Eredivisie and the Bundesliga. Big and strong, Klavan should complement the more ball-playing qualities of Rakitsky nicely. Right back: Mario Fernandes. Mario Fernandes was actually born in Brazil and even won 1 cap for Brazil back in 2014, but he acquired Russian citizenship in 2016 and has since won 14 caps for his adopted nation. That meant we had to consider him eligible, and once eligible, it's a no-brainer that the right back should make our starting 11. Once a regular in Brazil with Grêmio, Fernandes has been very consistent over the last 4 or 5 seasons at CSKA Moscow, and he'll be one of the star men in this 11. Left wing: Yevhen Konoplyanka. The real strength in this squad is in wide areas, and that will become particularly evident when we look at our substitutes bench. We start on the left flank with the fleet-footed Yevhen Konoplyanka, currently of Schalke. The Ukraine star made his name at Dnipro as an excellent dribbler with explosive pace, and he signed for Sevilla in 2015. Following one season and one Europa League title in Spain, the three-time Ukrainian Footballer of the Year joined current club Schalke in the Bundesliga. Central midfield. Alexander Golovin. The most expensive Russian footballer and the most expensive Monaco signing in history, all at the age of 22, Alexander Golovin was unlikely to miss out on our starting 11. A really intelligent central midfielder who is capable of playing further forward, Golovin would pull the strings in our Soviet 11. Hard-working, good on the ball and accurate in the pass, Golovin attracted a lot of interest at CSKA Moscow, and he has made 15 appearances since signing for struggling Monaco in the summer. Central midfield. Taras Stepanenko. We always like our fancy 11s to be functional and realistic, not just a mashup of 11 good footballers mangled into some kind of starting 11. Yeah, that's alright. So we wanted a midfield destroyer in alongside Alexander Golovin. We didn't have to look any further than Taras Stepanenko, who provides an excellent shield in front of Shakhtar Donetsk and Ukraine's back four. A tireless runner who'll bring grit and determination to our starting 11, Stepanenko is a sure starter for us. Right wing. Andrei Yarmolenko. Right wingers didn't tend to be very popular in the Soviet Union. Right, but despite not being very popular, it's probably the position with the most competition in our entire 11. Ultimately, the top two candidates are Shakhtar's Brazilian-born Ukrainian international Marlos and sidelined West Ham star Andrei Yarmolenko. We've gone for Yarmolenko, who looked like he could be a big player for West Ham this season prior to picking up a serious Achilles injury. The big 6'2" right winger has previously played for Dynamo Kiev and Borussia Dortmund, and he is renowned for his direct approach, his ability on the ball, and the number of goals he scores. Attacking midfield. Henrikh Mkhitaryan. We've gone for a 4-4-1-1 formation with our Soviet 11, and needing to accommodate Henrikh Mkhitaryan was a major reason behind that. Probably the best player in our entire squad, albeit he hasn't really shown his best form over the last few seasons, Mkhitaryan is Armenia's star man, and probably the only Armenian footballer most people could name off the top of their heads. Mkhitaryan is a really talented footballer who is excellent for both Shakhtar Donetsk and Borussia Dortmund. He has only shown glimpses, rather than consistently good form, since arriving in the Premier League with both Arsenal and Manchester United, but there's still a really good player in there. We take the shackles off him in our USSR 11, giving him a free role where he can drift about and try to affect play and unlock the opposition's defence as much as possible. Centre forward. Fyodor Smolov. There were a few options for us at centre forward, from Zenit Targaman Ertem Zuba to CSKA Moscow's prolific young frontman Fyodor Chalov. We think Fyodor Smolov is the most talented centre forward at our disposal though, and as such, he takes the starting spot as our lone striker. Quick, neat on the ball, and fairly accurate with his favoured right foot, Smolov was a very late bloomer, but he started scoring regularly after signing for Krasnodar in 2015. Now contracted to Lokomotiv Moscow, Smolov has scored 4 goals from 10 league games so far this term. Substitutes. That was actually a pretty tough starting 11 to put together in certain places, but thankfully, we have 7 subs in reserve in case we've made any mistakes. Should anything happen to Igor Akinfeev, our backup shot stopper is our second Brazilian-born inclusion and 6'6" giant, Guilherme Marinato, who's played over 250 games for Lokomotiv Moscow and has won 4 caps for Russia. We were spoilt for choice when it came to backup centre-backs, but ultimately, we decided to include Moldova's star man, Alexandru Eperenu. A very dependable central defender, Eperenu has been with Turkish Super League table toppers Istanbul Başakşehir since 2014. Yuri Zhirkov may have missed out to Alexander Zinchenko in our starting 11, but he brings experience and versatility to our bench, capable of coming on either left back or on the left wing. Another player who was unfortunate to miss out on our starting 11 was Denis Garmash, who has been starring for Dynamo Kiev for the last decade, and he's the 4th name on our bench. Next up is the best player not to make our starting 11, and actually one of the best players in our entire squad. Shakhtar star Marlos is really unfortunate that our Soviet 11 is so strong on the flanks, but there's no way that he's missing out on our bench. Then we come to Alexander Cochrane, who is an excellent player to have waiting in the wings since he can play as either a centre forward or on either of the flanks, bringing pace and an obvious goal threat. And lastly, our backup out-and-out centre forward has to be Ertem Dzyuba, not just because he is a regular scorer and probably our next best striker, but also because his size and style gives you a real plan B from the bench. So that's it for our Soviet Union 11 if the state still existed. Please do let us know your views on how centralised a state ought to be and what fiscal policy is best for social cohesion in the comments. No, I'm joking, please don't actually. Do feel free to let us know what you made of our starting 11 though, whether you'd like to see more of these kind of videos, and if so, which former states, empires or regions you'd like to see us look at. As always, thanks for watching, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you're a fan of HITC Sevens.